Welcome back. I'm Carrie. It's Keep It Simple DIY, and it is that time of year. We are having a ton of tomatoes come in from the garden, and it's time to be doing things with tomatoes. So today is all about figuring out different things to do with tomatoes. I'm not going to make all of the recipes today, I don't think. You never know though, so maybe. First thing I'm going to do is make tomato soup. This is some oregano that I dried out, and I'm just putting it in there because, I don't know, the stick was kind of in my way. Not in my way, but I was seeing it, so I had to do it, you know? So tomato soup. I've made tomato soup tons of times, love tomato soup. I made it a few years ago and I canned it, did not love that. So we're not going to can this, we're going to freeze it. I did just go out to the garden and get some basil as well, so I'm gonna put the basil in there. Also going to add a decent amount of onions. And then we gotta talk about the tomatoes. So this soup, I'm going to let it simmer for quite a few hours, and I'm just going to blend it up with like a mixing blender after. I might or might not strain it afterwards and kind of get all of the chunks out. We'll see. I guess I'm kind of adding everything in before. So it calls for salt. I'm going to add celery salt because I feel like celery salt is a fantastic flavor enhancer for a tomato soup. And then quite a bit of garlic. I still need to wash my tomatoes. What I'm going to do is use the cherry tomatoes. So I have cherry tomatoes and Roma tomatoes. So I figured cherry tomatoes would be great for this. And I'm just trying to get some of that garlic juice out because that's going to be delicious. My thought was if I got all that out of the way, then I'd have room for all the tomato things. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pick through and grab only the cherry tomatoes, and then I'm going to rinse them off. We'll cut them up and we will get them into a pot to create our delicious soup. The reason I'm using the cherry tomatoes are, one, they have a lot more liquid and I want tomato soup to be a liquidy soup. Two, they have a better flavor. And three, I have other plans for my Roma tomatoes. So I'm making sure to use the tomatoes for certain things. Does that make any sense? Like the Romas aren't going to have as much liquid inside. And my thought is I'm going to try to fill that whole container, and hopefully it turns out delicious because I love me a grilled cheese and tomato soup in the fall. Some other things that I'm thinking I might make, I haven't decided for sure. I've been seeing like a sheet pan dinner that's like a tomatoes with balsamic, it's chicken with tomatoes, and then you add mozzarella and balsamic glaze on top and basil. So that looks delicious. I also want to make salsa. Last year I thought I was going to be making salsa and I didn't. The reason I didn't was because I wasn't feeling so great last year, but I did get enough of the peppers and I preserved them, so they're in my freezer, so I could make it. I also got some tomatillos in here. So what I'm doing is I'm going through and I'm grabbing all my Romas and I'm getting them into this container so that I have all my cherry tomatoes that I can get into this bowl and washed. And there's so many more tomatoes out there. The only question is, will these all fit in there? I think they will. Okay, we have just our Romas left here, which is great. I'm going to get these washed off. So here's my thought process. I could go through and cut these all, or I could just kind of rip them open as I put them in. I'm debating. Maybe ripping them open isn't the best idea. I'm gonna switch, I think, too. Let's do this. It's gonna be easier. Cut them open with a knife. And the reason I'm doing this is just because they take up so much more space if they're whole, and then they're also a little harder to puncture. They like splatter when they're hot then, and I don't want hot splattering tomatoes. This isn't even cooked yet and it smells so delicious. Just the garlic and the tomatoes, it just smells so fresh. Can't really smell the basil. That was a great amount. Last thing we need in there is some stock. I'm using turkey stock. You could use chicken or vegetable. I'm gonna add about a cup. Okay. Now, let's get it on. We'll see it again in a few hours. These tomatoes have been in here for a couple hours. Not done yet, but I think it's a good time for me to go in here and blend them up. I'm always terrified to do this, so let's hope nothing splashes. Okay, I think we did it. Now the question is, do we want to take all the seeds out? I think I want to give it a little bit of a taste test first, and then I probably do want to strain it. Let's see here. That is good. It's mild. It definitely needs something. So let me think on that, and I'm going to strain it, and then we'll add some additional things. Probably some more celery salt. All right, here's what I've got set up. I've got a glass bowl. Hopefully it doesn't crack with the hot liquid. And then a colander, and I just realized I probably should have also got out the trash can. Let's just strain this through. This is how I used to make my sauce, is I would just strain it through a colander. And we just take all of the seeds and skins. Okay, and then we'll pour this back in. I did rinse off my ladle so that we didn't have any seeds on it. I'm going to grab some more celery salt. And I think we could use a little bit more basil. Whoop, maybe not that much, but I guess that's how much we have in here now. And I'm going to add a little bit of salt and then some onion powder. I'm just winging it here, adding what my heart is telling me to. Let's see here. Come on in. Now these spices really need to simmer together and really kind of become one in the soup. My plan with this soup though is to freeze it into cubes. I am waiting for the cubes to come, so I will definitely put this in the fridge, probably overnight if the cubes don't come early enough today, and then I'll put them in once it's cooled, because I definitely don't want to put this in when it's too hot into cubes. I feel like that just makes it so much harder on the freezer. Okay, let's taste it again. Trying to figure out, like, what is it missing? Definitely like a salt. I wonder if I do some bouillon. Yeah, let's do some bouillon. I think maybe my stock wasn't stocky enough. Okay, I think what I'm going to do, is add a little bit of black pepper. I'm not a huge black pepper fan, but just a tad. And then I'm going to let this simmer for probably a few more hours. I feel like that'll really bring this flavor together. And it's also a little bit thick still. Or I mean, no it's not, it's thin. It's a little bit thinner than I would like it to be. Yeah, let me just let it sit for a little while and simmer, and we'll be back to it. It might be tomorrow when we start packaging it up, but it's just gonna sit here for a while, then we'll package it up. We're doing our second tomato recipe. I'm going to make some salsa just in the blender. I've never done this before, so this will be a new thing for us. I'm going to just do a rough chop, just like in quarters, of these tomatoes. Now the recipe called for 4 Roma tomatoes, and I just thought mine might be a little small, so I put 5 out. I also have some peppers that are from last year's garden. I didn't get any peppers this year because I only had 1 plant and it did not live. Now for the tomato soup, it is in my fridge. It's the next day, and the containers, like the silicone molds I was going to put them in, did not arrive. So if they arrive today, I'll do it today, but it's supposed to be here by 10 p.m. today now. So I'm also going to add in the jalapeno, and I just did a little bit because those are so hot. Now it calls for half an onion, but this is kind of a big onion, and so I think I might only do 1/3 of this onion. Maybe I'll just do this little half. So I'm going to rough chop this as well. Now I went out to the garden to get cilantro, and this is all I had, so I might have to use some non-fresh cilantro. We'll see. But I'm going to put it in there. It calls for like 1/3 of a cup, and that is not 1/3 of a cup. But let's add some salt, probably a good amount, some sugar, some lime juice, and some garlic. Okay, let's mix it up and see how it does. Now the question is, will it fit in here? Do I think I got enough of that? Well, that blended it a lot. Okay, let's get this out. Now this will be better once it's sat in the fridge for a while, but I still want to try it. Looks a little foamy now. Okay, let's see here. Let's see. Ooh, that's delicious. Ooh, it's spicy. Oh my goodness, that little bit of those peppers are so spicy. But it's sweet. It's sweet and spicy. Oh, it's good. We are back. It's a new day. I'm doing my 3rd tomato recipe. I found a recipe online that was like a tomato bake, and it looks delicious. I wanted to make it, but then I was like, wait, that's a ton of food, and that's not something that's going to really turn out well with leftovers. So I decided to kind of improvise and really scale back. So I just grabbed some basil out of the garden, and I'm going to slice up a tomato. I probably only need 1. And then I have some protein sourdough bread that I made, and I just toasted it so it would be a little crunchy. I want to start by putting some butter on it, but really I'm using, I can't believe it's not butter. And then some cheese. And I'm debating on if I want to put everything on and then put it in the air fryer and then drizzle it after, or if I want to put the potatoes on after as well. Thinking I might put everything on and stick it in the air fryer, just like this. I'm also thinking I probably need to put it on foil or something. Maybe not. Okay, so we have some mozzarella. Let's add our tomatoes. milk. And the basil I'm going to leave off. So I'm going to get these in the air fryer. I'm going to try to just walk them over like this. In the meantime, I did get the trays for the soup and I got the soup in there. So I'm going to take them out and put them in this bag. So far, I'm loving these trays. Let's see how easy it is to get them out. Oh my gosh. That's so easy. That's fantastic. Perfect. Look at that. That is perfect. 8 of them fit perfectly in a bag, like a gallon-sized bag. I'm going to get them in the freezer really quickly because I don't want them to melt and then get stuck together. Let's check on this. Ooh, that looks delicious. Let's give it just a few more minutes though. All right, let's see if I can get these out just with my hand. Is that gonna work? Ooh, it did. Okay. Perfect. Look at those. Let's finish them up. Finish these up. I am just going to take this basil and add a little bit of basil on top. Fresh basil from the garden is so delicious. And then I'm going to drizzle it with just a tad of balsamic vinegar. I don't have a balsamic glaze. If I did, I would be using it because there's no way to really just do a tad. So close enough. Here's how we're looking close up. These look so delicious. This is my lunch. I am very excited for this. And here is our salsa that we made the other day. It is delicious, but it is so spicy. So next time I will use like only a few little pieces of pepper. But you can see I've already eaten like half of it. So it's not too spicy. It's just spicy. All right, so we have our 3 tomato products. We have our tomato soup, we have our salsa, and we have our tomato bread lunch. I need to give this a try, but this looks so great. So let me put this away and then we will give that a try. All right, it is taste test time. That is so delicious. The tomatoes are warm. They're kind of squishy a little bit. I'm trying to decide like exactly what it tastes like. Maybe kind of like a bruschetta, but with basil. Does it normally have basil? This is delicious. So I'm gonna go eat my lunch. I'm so glad that you were here with me today. Thanks so much for being here. If you haven't yet, please give this video a thumbs up. If you're new here, please subscribe. I'd love to see you. If you're interested in some other pantry challenge videos, I will pop some up here and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.